Then
Hmm.
General
Uh,
thoughts.
this episode manages to introduce the most annoying character in probably the entire Star Trek franchise.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a particularly interesting plot line, and it has no particularly interesting performances by guest actors. It's got a couple of particularly interesting moments, but it doesn't have a particularly interesting plot. It manages to get through the entire thing with some very obvious sexist overtones, and then solves the entire quote-unquote conflict with the Deus Ex Machina at the end.
yeah,
Did I
pretty
miss
much.
anything?
Well, I haven't seen Star Trek Enterprise, but some people who have might contest the most annoying character in the Star Trek franchise.
Yeah, I never managed to get through the first episode of Enterprise.
Yeah, that's why I think that there may be more annoying characters to be found there. But at least for the next generation, yes, Deanna Troy's mother is pretty bad.
And DS9,
Mm,
when she unfortunately returns.
yeah,
Sorry.
because why not? She was such a beloved character after all.
And she doesn't just return once, no. It's multiple occurrences.
Yeah, obviously, because that's totally necessary.
There was a short little segment where Picard mentioned some sort of spice trade, and I was wondering, is that kind of like Dune spice or something, or I don't know.
I highly doubt it's like June Spice.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's just
Yeah.
actual literal spice.
I don't think you've got con officers of the Enterprise, you know. Wesley, have you taken your drugs that allow you to use warp speed today? No? Okay, go take those drugs.
That
Then
would
again,
make Star Trek
whatever.
a lot more interesting, though. People had to take drugs every time that they went to warp speed.
Then again, whatever the Traveller was doing, you know, probably comes close to qualifying, right?
Probably.
Anyway,
What else? Dr. Crusher mentions that the death of the Torellians, which were those human people, I
Yeah,
guess that kind of
the aliens
each
completely
other.
indistinguishable from humans,
Yeah. She says that the
like
death
every
of the
single
Torell-
other alien species.
Yeah. She says the death of the Torellians makes one question the sanity of humanoid life forms. So I'm wondering, what about other life forms? Are they inherently non-violent if they're non-humanoid, or humanoids just prone to violence? I don't know.
Yeah,
It was a weird
it
line.
seems like a very strange thing to specify.
Yeah, I don't know why. Weird line.
yeah. And let's not forget that this is one of something like 4 species named Tellarians.
Yes.
Because they're so creative, aren't they?
Like 5 different Tellarians or whatever.
I don't think there's anything I've got left on my list for this episode worth speaking about.
No.
Yeah.
I think Picard sums up this episode very well. I was not amused.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not much to say. Once
No.
again, it's kind of another episode is just there
Yeah.
among the
Much as we
others.
might, much as we might wish it wasn't.
Yeah. So, want to get on to scoring then?
Yeah, I suppose that's next. Bring on the categories.
Mhm.
Dun dun dun. Dun 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 dun. Come on, keep making sound effects while I find the file where it stops. Doopy 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 doo.
Uh,
Yeah, da, da.
I mean, we could probably just keep on talking about things. By the way, did anybody actually get a repository for like the ships? Just like a list of pictures of them, so we can actually put them on the screen.
No.
Or did we forget to do that
No, we
in
didn't.
the few seconds since I last asked that question?
Sorry. Okay, so the first category is
Because we obviously did all this at the same time, incidentally. That's why I'm saying that.
Anyway, so the first category is themes.
All right. I mean, there wasn't really that much of a plot so there wasn't really that many themes associated with it.
was
Does
more-
sexism count?
No.
It was more of honoring your culture's tradition versus following what you believe, like in your heart.
But it wasn't,
Yeah, but
was
she-
it?
yeah, but
Because
she
she
didn't-
never questioned it. She never...
She just went along with it blindly.
No, it was not Troy. It was that other guy. I forget his name. I already forgot his name. It's been like 2
The
weeks.
doctor.
Yeah,
But
the
they-
doctor.
He never seemed to went through conflict. It was 90% of the episode of, hi, I'm going to marry you, and then just suddenly, I'm going to beam over to these aliens and get space plague.
Okay,
I mean, it's not like he had any kind of like, internal conflict about it. He just left immediately.
I'm sorry. I'm just really scraping the bottom of the barrel here. I don't know. I can't think of any other than that.
Let's say 2.
Why?
arbitrarily.
Why
I
does
mean-
it deserve a 2?
Because, 1, I'm reserving for something that's just like something that's so terrible. Maybe it has themes, but they're just really, really offensive. Like 1, I'm thinking is Code of Honor level
Oh,
of
God.
terrible. But this isn't. I don't think that it was Code of Honor level bad.
Well, Code of Honor still had themes. I mean,
It had
What?
themes.
What if
but
those
Didn't we give Code of Honor a 0?
I think that we did. Give Code
yeah,
of Honor.
we gave it a pretty
Okay.
low rating.
So, 2 for themes. Acting.
Oh gosh.
This episode included 10 seconds of good acting by Data. And I have to admit that Lex Warner's Troy character isn't badly acted.
No, they did a
No,
very
she
good
isn't
job of
badly
making
acted.
her.
She's a terrible character.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I don't
Uh,
know. And the male love interest, who's so forgettable I don't even remember his name, was totally uninspiring.
Yeah,
And
But to be
Oh.
fair, he also didn't have any character either. So
true.
you can't really make a lot of that. Although then again, I guess that probably is a flaw, not really an excuse.
So, 4?
Yeah, 4. That seems about fair.
I agree.
Okay.
It would be lower if it wasn't for Data, but
Yeah, yeah.
Technobabble.
There
Was
was
there
some
any
techno
techno-
babble.
was there? When?
I remember.
Talking about the plague, maybe?
Yeah. There was some stuff about like the planet being attacked by the Torellians. There's a couple of technobabble. I can't exactly remember what they said.
I mean,
But it wasn't that much.
No.
in later seasons, I'd expect if they did this episode at a later time, they'd probably try to justify and back up all of the ridiculous planet's healing powers and, oh goodness, it's the woman from my dreams from my childhood and things. In later seasons, I'm sure they try to explain it away as a, I don't know, mitochondrial subspace link that's transcended the orbital kinetic fields.
And place
So-
their cells in flux.
Kind of like the Force then.
At a subatomic level.
Obviously. With using supersonic sound waves.
So, Technobabble, I can't honestly think of a single occurrence.
Yeah.
So I'm prepared to give this a 0.
I think that because we aren't 100% sure that there wasn't any, like Pyro says that he did hear some, so maybe we should just give it a 1 to be safe.
Just to be safe.
Yeah.
A safe 1.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Because-
Plot.
Because we obviously can't be bothered to just go back and check.
No, of
That's
course
beyond
not.
us. So,
So-
plot. There wasn't really much of a plot, if we're being honest.
I mean, there was a plot, but
There was a plot, but it wasn't very good.
quite blunt, isn't it?
It's accurate, though.
Yes.
We don't characteristically deny the existence of a plot.
Except
just-
for that one episode.
We're just unprepared to acknowledge its existence in this case.
Yes.
So, how do we rate the plot then?
Oh gosh.
2.
2?
2, yeah. 2 sounds about right.
And then awesomeness.
This was definitely not awesome.
No.
I'll give it 1 point for Data's singular
Data's one
funny
line.
remark. Yeah. I'm not prepared to give it anything based on the rest of the episode, though. So is that 1?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Other
Let's
than
see.
that, the only thing I can think of is there were some very nice background decorations that caught my eye when I was busy not paying attention to what was happening on screen.
And some very remarkable hairstyles,
Oh, yes.
evidently. Alright, so what does that give us, Wonko?
That gives us 10 and shuttlecraft.
Well, I mean, it could be the Kobayashi Maru.
But
That's
it
always
wasn't.
possible.
It wasn't nearly low enough for a Kobayashi.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad, but it could have been worse, is what I'm saying.
That is the
But
worst
not
shuttlecraft
much.
I've ever
Yeah.
drawn in my life.
There you go. This is what shuttlecraft
There
looked
we
like.
go.
Sorry for messing up your drawing.
It's not much what a shuttlecraft looks like.
Well, it's kind of what a shuttlecraft
This
looks
is
like.
original series shuttlecraft. That's next generation shuttlecraft.
Mm.
Not that they use them that much with transporters.
I mean,
Okay.
why do they even have them? Like, it seems like shuttlecraft are so much less useful than a transporter.
Also,
But
almost
they
sometimes
always
every
manage to
situation.
find situations in which they're useful.
every time they use a shuttlecraft, it always seems to break down.
I mean, to be fair, like, what are they even... It just seems like a lot of investment in space and time in the ship to fully man a shuttle pod, like a shuttle hangar.
Yeah.
don't know. This doesn't really seem worth it. You can just install more transporters
Yeah.
instead of just having like one transporter bay with like that can transport 6 people at a time.
Well, to be fair, the only one they ever use is Transporter Bay 3, so that implies that there are
1
at
and 2,
least
they just are
2
never
others.
used.
And then there's God knows how many cargo bays that have transporters in them. And then forget that every single shuttlecraft has a transporter in it, which is a whole load of transporters.
Wait, but okay, never mind. I'm not even gonna get into it.
So
But
can we?
the shuttlecrafts don't even have enough like life support to last them very long. Like you'd think that at least they'd be treated more like lifeboats than cruise liners.
Well, it's kind of funny how the different series is through Next Generation to DS9 to Voyager tend to treat shuttlecraft, right? Because in TNG they're mostly useless except for a short-range, basically cargo transport for whatever reason instead of using beaming, except for the few times when they seem to use bigger transporters to go on big long day trips away from places. Then shuttlecraft in DS9, they don't call them shuttlecraft, but I can't remember what they do call them, suddenly become immensely useful, capable, all-purpose vehicles. At least until the Defiant comes along, and then they basically get written out of the show. And then Voyager, they're pretty useless for the first few years, and then they build the Delta Flyer, which is a super de-duper uber shuttlecraft of death, which is so overpowered and amazing that it's a mystery why Starfleet never created anything like it before.
Considering they have significantly more resources than they did in
The Delta
the
Quadrant.
Delta Quadrant. But I mean, to be fair, in Deep Space Nine, they don't actually have a ship, so that probably makes shuttlecraft a lot more useful in general.
Yeah, which I guess was what they did to compensate until they realized that, you know what, we really need to give these people a ship.
Yeah, so they can actually not just be on the same station forever. Well,
All
they
right,
still
shall
are
we
on the same
move on
station,
to
but
the
they
next
can,
episode then?
Yeah,
sure.
this has been us. We're done here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Goodbye. We're finished. We're done with this.
Don't die, Wonko.
be gone.
He's dead.
All right, are we done?
We've done that one. We're on to the
Yeah.
next one. Come over here. I don't know if you can see. Go to the left.
Yeah, we can see.
Okay.
Ah,
There we go.
Alrighty. We starting this one again, or what's going on?
Yeah, I think we're
say
starting it
goodbye.
again.
Is it my turn?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Hello and welcome to Star Trek Rewind, your weekly visit to the future and the past. I am the Pyroceniac, and with me today is...
Captain
Nerd?
Fruit.
And
Damn
Ninja
it.
Nerd.
Instead of going, just pausing and neither of us going, we talked over each other. Anyway, we're here to talk about Season 1, Episode 11 of TNG, The Big Goodbye.
Yeah.
You know, if this had been the only time in Star Trek's history when the holodeck had malfunctioned, making it a truly original and interesting storyline, I think history would view this episode a lot more kindly.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it wasn't that bad.
No.
But-
No,
It was
it's just...
It's just kind of something that happens pretty frequently.
Yeah, it was
Relatively frequently.
It was a good setup for future holodeck episodes, if anything else.
But it did sort of become ridiculous after a while of how many new and interesting ways they could come to justify the fact that the holodeck safeties had failed. You know, why holodeck safeties seem to be the only element of science fiction less reliable than a flux capacitor. And why they weren't hardwired into the on position. In fact, why is it even possible at all to turn the holodeck safeties off?
Well, what if the Borg board your ship and you just need to use a Tommy gun to kill a bunch of them?
Right.
That's a pretty specific situation where you'd need to turn the holodeck safeties off.
So instead of, you know, creating actual 24th century Tommy guns and pushing them in the weapons locker, where people might actually be able to use them throughout the ship to fight the Borg, you're going to load them into the holodeck, turn the safeties off, and instead of pulling up that scene from The Matrix where it's just racks and racks of guns, you pull out a casino?
You know what I don't get? Why don't they just lure... Like, this is kind of off topic, but why didn't they just lure the Borg into the holodeck and then just set it to be some horrible death trap and then set all of the safeties off? So they just, like, walk in and then there's just, like, 10,000 people with machine guns all shooting them simultaneously.
And another thing about that movie, right? First Contact, when they're in the medical bay, right? And as a cameo gag, they have Robert Picardo as the doctor, the EMH, and he tells them to hold off the Borg, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've got working holographic projectors in sickbay, Computer, give me a Tommy gun.
Yeah, exactly. Like, evidently those are effective. And you can't really adapt to a Tommy gun, can you? Like...
As was proved later in the movie.
I mean, the fact that, like, Data punches them, right? And that works. So, obviously, physical attacks still affect them. So, therefore, you can probably kill them with bullets.
I'd just like to point out for a second that this is probably the longest we've gone without actually talking about the episode in question.
Probably. But we're talking about the main thing about the episode. Anyway, let's go to actual trivia about it. How about?
Trivia.
I mean,
that would a whole bunch of trivia.
It's based on an actual, thing, the Dixon Hill stories.
Yes. That is true.
Dixon Hill.
I mean, I've never actually read any of it, but I guess it's kind of noir-y, as I can tell by just watching this episode.
I don't know, is Dixon Hill actually real?
Well,
I mean,
he wasn't actually a real
person,
but he was a real fictional character. If that makes any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, he was in the He was in a magazine called the National Detective Gazette
Okay.
in the 1980s. No, wait, that is in the 1980s. Like 1920s, 1920s through 1940s, I think. But
Okay.
anyway.
I'd never heard of Dixon Hill before Star Trek, so...
No, I don't think he is anything outside of Star Trek.
Oh, really?
No, he does exist. Like Dixon
Wait,
Hill.
what?
I'm pretty sure he is. Let me see.
Is
I don't
Dixon
think
Hill
so.
a real fictional
I think-
character?
Is it?
Well, he's a real fictional character.
Outside of Star Trek.
Outside of Star Trek.
I do not think so.
He's just a made-up Sherlock Holmes character then, but for America.
No, wait. Yeah, it is just made up. Never mind. For some reason, I thought that it was an actual story.
Huh.
Though you have to admit, the name Dixon Hill is probably... Something about it just sounds 1920s film noir.
No,
Yeah. Sounds like a character out of Chinatown. By the way, good movie. Watch it.
I've been planning to watch some noir movies
It
lately,
is-
actually.
Jack Nicholson. It's pretty great.
Oh god, I just watched The Shining, and all I can
yeah.
think of is just Jack Nicholson's smile when he looks at the door.
Pretty sure he also has some pretty creepy smiles in Chinatown. But regardless, back to The Big Goodbye. Any other trivia? Non-Jack Nicholson related?
Not that I can scrape from the... No.
Yeah. I mean, most of it would sort of fall into other categories.
So shall we move on then?
Well, I guess one trivia thing would be this, like, the first episode where they, like, spend pretty much the entire episode in the holodeck.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's pretty cool.
First of many.
Mm.
You know, it always struck me that the holodeck, you know, I mean, you've got an entire quadrant of the galaxy filled with dozens of friendly species and hundreds of enemy species and anomalies and entities and just about any situation you can possibly imagine created in some way or the other. But the fact that so many episodes of Star Trek were so scrapped for ideas that they, you know, need to take place
In the holodeck.
in the holodeck, somewhere else entirely.
Incidentally, why does anybody ever do anything in Star Trek? Why don't they just, like, all go into a holodeck for their entire lives and just spend, you know, every waking moment in the holodeck?
Yeah, do you think
For all we
it's-
know, that's what people do on planet Earth.
I mean, like, what else is there to do? There's no money, there's no commerce, there's no jobs, really, that you need to do.
And nobody seems to have created any kind of culture in the last 200 years, which is why they need detective stories from the 1920s.
Yeah, like... yeah, and why they're always playing classical music all the time, because they don't have any new music to listen to.
Or jazz.
Yeah. Really, Star Trek is like a hidden dystopia that we just don't realize.
The
It's all
only,
masked
like-
underneath the, like, apparent goodness of their society, but really, it's just completely empty and devoid of any new development.
The only piece of like creative writing or literature that comes out of Star Trek that I can think of is an ode to Spot.
Yes,
No,
a note
no,
to
there's-
Spot.
There's
That's
that play that Crusher wrote that Riker starred in. Remember?
Ooh, I
Oh,
do
yeah,
not
that.
remember.
Yeah,
The
I
really
think I-
weird dream one. Fantastic episode. But
Yeah.
that's an original piece of culture.
Yeah, that was really weird.
Oh, and don't forget Shakespeare, which sounds best in the original Klingon.
Yeah, totally. Anyway, so should we move on to metaphors and themes?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, cool.
This didn't... I mean... You know, when for a while it addressed the... You know, am I a real person?
Yeah.
You know, what
Oh, yeah,
constitutes someone being real?
Yeah, and then there was that. Was it the cop guy, how he was like, when I go home, are my wife and kids still going to be there? And he's like, I don't know, and then leaves.
Yeah, that was so cold.
It was like, wow, you really just probably killed that dude and everyone in this world. That's pretty mean of you, Picard.
I wish the entire episode had kind of revolved around that and not around, oh, they're stuck in the holodeck and they might die.
I mean, what was, like, can I say the entire point with that, like, weird bug species was pointless. It was just sort of there
to
because
provide something to get the plot going.
like just something to make there be some manner of suspense.
It was just a catalyst. That's all.
I mean, I don't know. Just sort of seems like they could have made suspense without inserting a random bug alien plotline.
I don't know. I thought that conversation between Troy and Picard was pure gold.
Which one?
You spell knife with a K. I spell knife with an N. But then again, I was never very good at spelling.
Wow.
That's just such an un-Picard thing for him to say.
Why does he have to memorize the greeting anyway? Why can't he just read it?
Because very precise pronunciation, and if he gets a single syllable wrong, they'll spend another 20 years not talking.
Then why don't they just pre-record it? Or just use the universal translator.
La 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 la. Not listening to you.
I mean, they have multiple means of like fixing the greeting. That shouldn't be the one barrier to entry.
Yeah, or they could even use the holodeck.
Not to mention, they also know their language, so somebody must have had contact with them at some point to be able to figure out how to speak their language in the original, like how to speak the greeting in the original language with the proper pronunciation. So somebody must know how to speak it.
Yes,
I don't have. I was gonna say why don't have Choi do it because she apparently actually knows the language, but they wanted the captain to do it because of out of respect or whatever. Never mind.
But why not just a holographic captain?
Why didn't they just like suspend his why didn't he just turn over the bridge to her for that 5 minutes and then just have it go back to him afterwards? So she is technically the captain for a couple minutes.
Why not pretend that
other
Troy
than
is
the
the
fact that the
captain,
world would end.
and then have her read Picard's mind, and then have Picard tell her what to say?
Or
why
if
don't
she's,
you
or
bring
if
along
she's telepathy, why didn't she just talk to him? Wouldn't that be a lot easier?
Last time you were at a starbase when you got this mission, bring on a trained linguist on board.
I mean, if they have a historian, to bring it back to the actual episode, if they have a historian that is specifically about 1920s U.S. history, they probably have some sort of a linguist on board.
I've got to say, I love how blatant of a red shirt he was.
Yeah, it's just like, oh yes, let's just invite this guy.
He's a Picard and the ship's historian.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen to him.
Interestingly enough, they actually said he was a 20th century historian, and that may not be so relevant to us now in the 21st century, but when this came out, that was the 20th century, so he was a historian for now when the episode came out, which I don't know.
The 20th
That's kind of an
century was
interesting
awful.
concept, I guess.
20th century was in general a pretty bad show. All things
Then again,
considered.
21st century, eugenics wars, World War III.
I mean, it's not that
Don't
much
have
better.
all that much to look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. But at least afterwards we get some decent stuff. We can all hang out in holodecks, so. Anyway, any other metaphors and themes? Because apparently those were all metaphors and themes.
Not that I can think of.
No.
Other than that metaphysical, am I real moment.
Yeah, not really. Characters. So, I mean, we already kind of talked about this, but there was that one red shirt guy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was a character, I guess.
I also kind of like that Wesley in this episode wasn't overconfident, oh god, I know everything.
Yeah.
He
Although he was still superfluous.
Yeah.
Like, they could have just had Geordi there and had Geordi fix it. Like, I mean,
Or bring
wasn't
the
really
actual
be there.
chief of or head
Especially,
of
like,
engineering down, whoever that is at this time.
yeah, because
Yeah.
that's evidently not Geordi.
Yeah.
But
Instead, we just have
instantly,
to bring in our resident Mary Sue.
what was Geordi's original job anyway? I don't even actually know. Like, what is his job at this point? What does he do?
I don't know. I'll look it up.
I think he's just like a lieutenant in the engineering bay.
But why would he be a bridge officer?
Maybe he's the bridge officer for engineering.
Yeah, he's kind of like the conduit through which
He was originally the helmsman.
Oh yeah. Well, okay. So he went from helmsman to head of engineering. Don't you need more qualifications to go to that? I mean, and if he was qualified, why not just make him the head of engineering from the beginning?
Maybe
Questions
he was
we
being
may
a
not-
helmsman so
we
he
may
could
never
understand
know
how the
the
ship
answer.
worked a bit better as like kind of an intern position or something. I don't know.
But anyway,
He was named con officer during encounter at Farpoint.
wait, so we went from con officer to okay. Well, wait,
Yeah.
wait. Then why do they keep on calling him lieutenant afterwards? Even if he isn't the chief of engineering.
Because he was a lieutenant.
So they had a
Wait, at the
Commander, I
start of the series, he was lieutenant junior grade. He was promoted to the rank of lieutenant and later lieutenant commander.
Okay, well, we learn something new every day. Anyway, back to this episode. Yeah, like when Wesley was working on the like what's it panel, it's not even like he was the only person there that was figuring out the problem. There was like 3 other technicians that are actually trained by Starfleet that were also like just figuring out the problem. So it's kind of curious that he also needed to be there, even if Geordi wasn't the head of engineering.
Yeah, I mean, unlike, I think every single previous episode we've watched until this point, this one was enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to, yeah.
It was mildly funny. It was above average, far above average for the first season.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think it.
Yeah.
I really like this episode because it actually showed us the characters in a non-formal, non-working environment. Like, how do they relax? And that really tells us more about them as people and how they interact with each other.
I do also like how evidently, for however long they've had this ship, enough, like within these 11 episodes, Picard has A, never used the holodeck before this point, and B, was so excited about it that he thought that all of the other bridge officers obviously didn't use it either, and they need to explicitly know his experiences with it. So much so that he called a specific bridge meeting just to do that, pretty much.
Well, no, there was the meeting
Yeah,
was
I mean,
about
like,
the bug people,
there
but he
was
prefaced it with his rant about how great the holodeck was.
Yeah, but you couldn't say that conversation was entirely about the bug people.
No.
It was mainly about the holodeck,
Yeah.
with random bug overtones. And what is there even to say about the bug people anyway? It's just like, I need to memorize this. That's about it. Why even call a bridge meeting?
They were just a bunch of...
I mean, it's obvious that he has used the bug thing as an excuse to just rant to people about this.
Another curious. Oh, I'll get onto this when we talk about technology. Go on.
I don't know, any other things about characters you want to say?
Not really. I did love the moment when Data tried to move that lamp around and pulled it out of his
Oh
socket.
yeah, yeah, and then
And
Picard plugged it in, and he's like, "Huh, well, that's interesting."
and he just shakes it back and forth to try and fix it. And when Picard plugs it back in, he thinks that he did a good job. But other than that,
I did think it was kind of strange though that they didn't know what a car is. I mean, it isn't that far in the future.
and
Like-
in the very final episode of Star Trek TNG, right? Where they're flitting back and forwards through time, or Picard is,
Mhm.
right? In the future one, when he goes to visit Data on planet Earth, you definitely see hover cars going around.
Yeah, exactly. So
So the concept of a car isn't lost to the 24th century.
yeah, and so but so Worf is just like automobiles. What is that? Or whatever he says. So I mean, and Picard obviously knows the word car. It's not like Worf just doesn't know what the word automobile is because he never heard it before. So why would Picard use the word automobile to describe it? Just seems sort of weird. Anyway, anything about characters? Was there anyone really else?
Um,
I mean, there was some pretty great, film noir accents going on in that.
oh
Yeah. And Bailey Crusher was very well acted in this episode.
Oh yeah, I would like
Yeah, I
what they
thought
did
so.
with Beverly, with Dr.
Probably
Crusher.
the first episode so far, which I can say that about her.
Yeah, well, it's not really that she's like it's not really a problem with her as an actress. It's just more she hasn't had any opportunities.
And it
Sort of
almost
there.
felt like the writers of the show had no idea what to do with the character for the first 4 years. I mean, bring her on for the first season and don't do very much with her, then write her off for the second and bring her back for the third, and then fluff her whole way through the fourth until she actually becomes an actual character with believable motivations and
Other
an
than just
interesting
like
personality.
I am the Doctor. That is it.
I am the Doctor. I am also Wesley's mother, and that's just about it.
For a second, I thought you were going to go into a Doctor Who reference, but anyway, I'll just leave that. Character. Yeah, that's about it for characters. I think
Yeah.
there wasn't really anybody else new that they introduced, unless the bug person counts.
No.
Yeah. Continuity then.
Okay. This. I don't know if it's actually technology or continuity, but there was something that really bothered me in this episode. After Picard initially went to the holodeck, that lady, just random extra, kissed him on the cheek. And
Yeah,
that
and
leaves
then
lipstick on his
the
cheek.
lipstick.
And then he left the holodeck, and
Was
the
still
lipstick
there.
stayed on his cheek.
Well, I mean, it's like in Encounter at Farpoint where Wesley got covered in water in the holodeck and then left and was still wet.
Yeah.
And the fact that when Picard tricked the men into going outside the holodeck, they sort of just walked out for a few seconds and then started disappearing.
Yeah, like
As opposed to every other time when it's shown where
they just
the force
immediately vanish.
just stops. Who knows? Maybe the when the Binars took over the ship and caused damage, it caused a lot more damage than we realized.
A very significant amount of damage. Where now holograms can exist outside of the holodeck, but only for a few seconds.
You know, I
No,
wonder-
they would have had to damage it to make that not possible anymore.
Oh, so you're saying that they originally would have done that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that explains why the lipstick stayed and the water. So they just did such significant permanent damage to the holodeck that now they can no longer exist outside.
And it
That
also
explains
makes
so much.
it also makes a small degree of sense that complex structures like the people would disintegrate right into atoms. But if you simulate water on someone, well, that can't disintegrate into smaller droplets of water, can it? So you'd stay wet. And
Well, I mean, couldn't it disintegrate into oxygen and hydrogen, which are both gases?
well, I suppose, but why would it?
And
Water's a stable.
But also, isn't all that mass just made of like energy? Basically, isn't that like the whole principle of pretty much every piece of Star Trek technology? And they can
Isn't-
convert mass to energy and vice versa.
Isn't all mass just made of energy?
Not IRL.
Yes, IRL.
Well, sort of.
Ninja Nerd, you're the chemist here. You tell us.
Sort of. It's weird.
the future
Sort of.
chemist.
I maintain that I won that one. La la la. I'm not listening to you.
All right. Anything that actually has to do with continuity?
Well, this is the first of a long string of, oh no, the holodeck failed episodes.
Yeah, that happens pretty often. I mean, I guess that gives them an opportunity to put the characters in a situation that otherwise they'd have to pull some like very contrived strings for it to happen. So instead,
Yeah.
later on, Worf gets trapped in like the Old West or something. And
Oh god, fistful
yeah.
of datas.
yeah, that was that was really weird.
No.
But like I guess if they wanted to do an Old West movie or an Old West episode, they can't really do that without without using the holodeck. So it just sort of became a plot device for them to do whatever they wanted.
Still, it did get a while where it was a bit unbelievable, where the non-ceasing list of situations in which the holodeck safeties are off and the doors are trapped closed and you can't pause the program and you can't beam them out and stopping the program by cutting the power would somehow kill them.
Come to think of it, did they even try beaming them out in this?
Not that I
I mean,
No.
couldn't they have, like, they didn't even think of that. They were just constantly focused on trying to fix the holodeck.
I think there was
I
some
mean-
sort of like contrived situation that said that they couldn't beam them
But
because it was
why?
dangerous and they couldn't quite figure out where in the holodeck they are because of the way the holodeck worked or something.
Why didn't they just beam everything out of the holodeck? Because all the holograms are just going to vanish anyway. So,
I don't know.
or just use one of the cargo transporters in a one of the warehouse rooms or on the cargo decks, and then just beam the entire contents of the holodeck into the room.
But then everything would get wet.
You'd think the holodeck would have like a safety hatch that the outside could open or something in case the main door doesn't work. Because if the main door malfunctions, then you're kind of screwed.
Yeah, actually, come to think of it, that is really stupid that there's only one entrance to the entire thing.
I mean, it does seem to malfunction an awful lot. You'd think that there'd at least be like some sort of safety hatch or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe at least, I don't know, some way to break down the door or the wall. I mean, they can just reconstruct it. They have replicators and the like.
Yeah, I know. Like, well, I mean, if you have replicators, it doesn't really matter. Like, you can just break anything you want and just have another one instantly.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Anyway, anything else? I thought that the gag about Data being from South America was pretty funny. No, they're just like thinking of some random place that he could be from, despite the fact that he's like really pale and does not look Latino whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to hear somewhere other than Australia gets referenced. It seems like every time they want to bring up an example of, you know, a pre-Federation nation state on Earth, they always pick Australia.
Yeah, like, I mean, I guess it's just supposed to be out of the way, I guess, but still seems kind of weird that they'd always choose it, without exception.
Are you having fun over there, Wonko?
Meow. Star Trek Into Darkness. So yeah, that's all I can think of for continuity.
Technology, then?
Sure.
I've already kind of touched on it a little bit.
Yeah, the holodeck. I mean,
Yeah.
the question about whether people on the holodeck are really real people is a question that would get brought up,
Yeah, with the whole Moriarty thing.
yeah, several times more with Moriarty, and then again, excessively so in Voyager with the Doctor, who was a fantastic character, but never really comes to much of a conclusion on that.
Yeah, they sort of, like, cavalierly do whatever they want regarding people on the holodeck, because
Yeah.
yes, they don't think that they're people, to ease their like horrible consciences. Because once again, this is a dystopian society, so
I love what you've done to the poster.
yeah. Well, that wasn't. I only did the the most detailed mustache. Pyro did the other two.
Lovely.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Anyway, any other pieces of technology?
Yeah, just the holodeck needs more safety precautions, I think.
Yeah, well, you don't say.
I mean, Wesley was
This-
trying to fix it, and he said, "Oh, something could go if I mess up, something could go horribly wrong, and they all die or whatever." And I was like, "Oh,
Yeah, they're all like vaporized along with all the holograms.
I mean,
I'm not really sure how that would work, but
This episode probably served as the big introduction of the holodeck into, mainstream Trek. I mean,
Not
it's been used a couple of times up to this point, but
Yeah.
never this extensively or for as long as in this episode.
I mean, it was in the animated series, but that was the animated series."
just one thing I wanted to bring up. How come everybody thought that it was so weird that Picard was wearing his uniform in this episode? Whereas in other episodes, I'm pretty sure that people have come across people in Federation uniforms and not blinked an eye.
I think it probably depends on how sophisticated the program in question is. Maybe Holo authors got a lot better at having the program characters ignore a person's attire.
Or alternately, they could have just gotten lazy and forgotten that rule.
Yeah.
Why don't they
That's
just
true.
holographically put clothes over you once you go on the holodeck for your program?
I mean, Picard in Next Generation had, like, when he went into the holodeck to kill those Borg with the Tommy gun, he did in fact have he was wearing a white suit, I remember, which he wasn't wearing previously,
Yeah.
unless I'm misremembering something horribly. So he must have gotten new clothes somehow. Like,
Oh no, the Borg are chasing us. Just wait, I want to start this holodeck program. Why? To get a gun. Okay, just wait, I need to change. What? I'll
Yeah.
be
I mean,
5 minutes, just wait.
right, that would be weird after all, right? If he didn't have if he didn't wear a suit, it would totally not fit the mood of the Tommy gun. Wait, let me see.
Is
So,
that all for technology?
anything else about technology? Yeah,
Not
Not
that
that I can think of.
yeah. I mean, that was
Whoa.
pretty much it.
Okay, on to general thoughts.
General thoughts. It was.
It
pretty
was a
good.
good episode. It was enjoyable. It's been made worse by how much the holodeck's overused, but I think it shines a little brighter if you remember that this was the first one. That this time it was an original idea.
Yeah. As opposed to other times where it was just sort of playing off the same theme.
Yeah, rehashing the original series or whatever.
Mhm.
I don't know. I still wish they had done a little bit more with artificial intelligence. And
Yeah.
all
Like,
that.
are they
Like they kind
real
of just
people
brushed it
and-
off. But
Well, at least they brought it up, which is
yeah,
pretty good.
that's true.
Yeah.
Then just ignore it.
So, is that for this episode?
I think so.
Sorry, I just wanted to add a picture of. Let's see, wait for the load. Just because you've been referencing this a bunch of times, this is what we're talking.
There we go.
Yeah.
And a bow tie as well.
Naturally,
Squares are cool.
squares are most certainly cool. Wow, that's a really. That's a blast from the past right there.
Really, really old inside joke.
Yes. Wow, that's. Gosh, that was in like grade 8,
9, I think.
9. Wow, it's been a while. And nobody else got it.
even Pyro here, I don't think.
No, I don't. I'm just laughing because you're laughing.
It's an inside joke just for 2 people in the whole world that understand that.
Mm.
Also, I like to point out Picard's expression is pretty great right here. Like, just
Yeah.
look at that.
Oh my god, what am I doing?
Look at that eyes right there. It's pretty. This is the epitome of aiming. You see, right there. See, like,
Wait,
awareness.
I just need to make a improvement to this image. You see this light blue thing I've drawn here?
Yeah.
Yes.
The line must be drawn here.
Ah,
This far, no further.
Yeah, totally. Right there.
I think we're done.
Yeah, I think we're done. I'd agree with that assessment.
Okay, category 1, themes.
I thought that,
Given that it touched on,
like
what
the whole
constitutes
idea.
consciousness and am I real sort of thing, slightly above average, I'd say.
Yeah. So like 6, 7, somewhere around there.
Yeah, 6
I think
sounds about right.
6
Yeah,
is good.
6 sounds about fair.
Acting, very good, I thought.
Yeah, I
this
thought the
episode.
acting was pretty
Yeah.
decent.
Yeah.
So like 7 or 8.
Yeah, the
around there.
holodeck characters did a really good job.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, definitely.
and also with Patrick Stewart and Gates McFadden did fantastic, and even Data managed to imitate the time period somewhat.
Data once again had some pretty great lines as well.
Yeah, I'd give this episode a 9, to be honest, for acting.
Sure.
Yeah,
I'd
it was
agree with
really
that.
good. Yeah, 9.
Probably the only episode of the entire first season which deserves that distinction. Okay, Technobabble.
I mean, there was some technobabble around the, like the probe that messed up some random thing in some indescribable what's it inside the holodeck.
And more undescribable thingies about why they couldn't fix the holodeck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when Wesley was poking around in there and all that.
So where do you think
So
that's?
slightly above average? 6
Sure,
or
it's
7?
like 6. Yeah, I think the 6 is probably good.
6. Yeah, 6.
Plot.
Um,
Fairly predictable, but...
Yeah.
yeah, but it's still
Still
wasn't a
interesting.
bad plot.
No, it wasn't. Once
Like-
again, above average. 7?
Yeah. Yeah,
I
I'd
wouldn't
agree
give it
with
a 7. I
Really?
think it's 6.
Ooh,
I think it's 7.
I think
Right.
it's 7.
Oh,
You're
well,
outvoted,
we're a
Tyler.
democracy, so 7 it is.
This is a democracy, people. Now do what I say.
Yes, exactly.
Which brings us, assuming
Absolute
I'm even
executive
keeping...
power must be derived from the masses, not from some farcical aquatic ceremony.
Stop, wrong piece of culture.
Help, I'm being repressed.
Come see the violence inherent in the system. Help, I'm being oppressed.
Anyway, what are we on to now?
I love that movie.
Awesomeness.
Awesomeness. This was pretty awesome. There was a significant awesome factor in this. However, I do think that if they had instead decided to go with our new innovative designs for the poster emphasized here, it could have been made even more awesome. But regardless, it was pretty good as it stands.
What do you think?
Yeah.
7?
I'd say higher. Let's say 8.
8. Yeah.
Ooh, you guys are very generous today, aren't you?
I like this
I mean-
episode.
I really like this episode. And looking through the entire first season, I think this is the only episode I can say that of.
Look, we don't have a lot of good episodes in this season, so
No.
we need to take them where we
We've
can
got to
get them.
salvage every last one. I mean, I guess 11001001.
That isn't that bad.
Yeah, it's an. That's
So that
an
makes
episode.
2, but
Oh, I'd like to retract my statement of Data Lore. I've since watched it, and my memory of it was that it was a lot better. But we'll touch that next week.
Oh god. Yeah, like looking through the
Anyways, this
list.
is a score of 36. What is that in our conversion scale?
36 in our conversion scale is, and I hope someone's going to go find the ship for us, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Woo! High one. Intrepid class.
Intrepid. I think this is our highest score yet.
I think
Almost
so.
certainly.
Is that Voyager?
Yes, it is Voyager. There we go.
Aha.
How strangely appropriate that Voyager, since it's the one that actually starts to deal with artificial intelligence and all that.
Well, I
Yes.
mean, artificial intelligence data was dealt with quite a bit in
Okay, yeah.
TNG.
Well, not so much
But
artificial
holo
intelligence. More of
intelligence.
like,
Oh,
holodeck,
what was
yeah.
the? When is the episode where they have the trial with Data? Because that was amazing.
Oh, that's a good one.
That one was fantastic.
That's in a later season, I think. Happens after he's been quite well established.
Yeah, that was in like season 4 or 5, somewhere around there.
Measure of a Man.
Yeah.
Season 2, episode 9.
Wait,
Oh,
really?
really? Wow.
Wow,
Oh, we get to
okay.
get to that one pretty soon.
Yeah, because it's got
It's so-
Pulaski in it, right?
Oh yeah, it does,
Oh,
doesn't it?
okay.
Man, that episode is so good. Just you wait, viewers. Once we
Something
get
to
there, it'll be
Something
great.
to look forward to.
Anyway, that probably about wraps it up.
Yeah. I
What's
think
that green thing on the Voyager side? Is that mooring lights? It's beep, beep, green lights. Yeah.
Maybe
so. No, that's
I don't know.
Picard's muzzle flare.
from on a different ship. That's how
Yes.
bright it was.
It's a subspace anomaly.
It can be seen reflecting off of Voyager here.
Also, one thing I don't like about Voyager's design is this thing here.
Which thing? Like that little brown thing on the side?
This little orange thing right here.
Yeah.
Because Voyager's never very well illuminated in space, so it always goes by, and that's always a black spot, so it looks like it's taken damage.
Looks like there's like a chunk taken out of it.
Yeah, or it looks
Oh,
like...
there's multiple ones across the side though. There's like, yeah. So there's one
True.
over there, and there's also another one over there. And
But
there's
you only
there.
ever see this one and that one, because you only see Voyager from that one side,
yeah,
whilst it's just flying along through space.
What's the point of these of having these specific spots be brown anyway, as opposed to chrome?
Someone got bored of Chrome.
I mean, like, are they armored? That doesn't seem like a reason. Like, it doesn't seem reasonable to just armor those few parts. And if they aren't armored, why not armor them?
Those might
Or
be
are they
docking
made of something
ports
else?
of some sort, and they're there to mark where the docking port is.
But
No,
why not
no,
make
'cause
those
they're-
out of the same things as the rest of the ship? The rest
And the
of the
shuttle bay's at the back here.
Oh yes, so it is. You can see with the yellow parts. To
So then what are
distinguish it.
those?
These yellow parts. right
Plasma vents.
Maybe they needed to make the ship look not like a big gray oval, so they decided to put brown things on it.
Why do they make them ovals? Do you think because that's
Because it looks like a flying saucer.
I'm going to guess it's got something to do with heat dissipation.
I think that it has something to do with it looking like a
Maybe.
flying saucer.
That's probably it.
I mean,
I mean,
the
how's-
Borg have cubes that just kind of go through places. Why do you need to have a spatially inefficient?
Like an aerodynamic shape, considering that it doesn't go through the atmosphere.
Well, to be fair, Voyager does land on a couple of planets.
Yeah, but it's not really supposed to. Ideally.
And the original Enterprise goes underwater.
I mean, well, to be fair, the one of their other enterprises, I forget which number, in one of the TNG movies does go through an atmosphere. It just doesn't have very good results, and does spawn a great line by Data. I'm pretty sure you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do know what you're talking about, thank you.
Well, that was
So-
in Generations, right? I think
Yes, it was, because... Um,
Picard wasn't there.
yeah, and they needed to get rid of the ship so that they could bring on cooler sets for the next movie.
Yeah. Anyway, Yes, is that
Which is a
allowed?
bit strange because, wait. It was Generations was 7, right? And then First Contact was 8.
Yes.
Right, so never mind then. They used it plenty.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So is that it then? We done? This is a pretty good episode overall. But
I think so.
yeah. Okay then.
Yeah. All right. See you guys next week.
All right. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.